Hello, my limited audience of listeners. This is Evan, the Xenogears enthusiast, and I am bringing you a gameplay of Domination on Cracked, which is one of my favorite maps. I enjoy the atmosphere of this bombed-out city that we're theoretically vying for supremacy over. A lot when I play Call of Duty for extended periods, I like to assign a little fictional story in my head. I find that reality is very boring in that if you really keep track of the conversations you have with people, most people agree that they have the same conversation with the same group of people, more than 5 times a day. When you think about it, that's a really large stretch of your life dedicated to talking about things you're not really concerned about. But I'm not here to debate the finer points of conversation so much as just say that since I'm sort of an imaginative person, I sort of make fictional stories in my head. Like on Nuketown, I usually tell myself that these teams of soldiers are vying for control of these nuclear shelter bunkers because the town is obviously about to be nuked, hence the name Nuketown. Of course, there's absolutely no real backstory to facilitate that, and there's really no reason to assign a story to a multiplayer game like Call of Duty Black Ops, where it's not a massive multiplayer RPG or something like that, where it's a shooter. You shoot people, you get points, you get stats, compete for stats, have fun. I'm not really a competitive person in that regard, so I have to sort of fall back on this imaginative nature. That's not to say I don't like to win or I like to lose. To me, it's always been important. I hate losing, but I don't derive a lot of pleasure from winning. So the biggest concept to me is I just don't want to lose. And losing is always in the eye of the beholder. If I get outplayed by someone with a 4.6 KDR who commentates on YouTube and puts most everyone to shame, that's not a problem. When I lose to some scrubby W who's got like a .33 KD, doesn't even have the excuse of playing the objective, doesn't even know what it means to play the objective, and he just runs me over because I can't shoot straight, yeah, that'll upset me. But yeah, that's sort of why I like certain maps more than others, maybe not for gameplay reasons, but just because they integrate a little better into my mental image of how the game should be played. I either sound completely nerdy or really strange, maybe both. But moving beyond that, I want to talk a little bit about the state of Black Ops as a game, at least for me, and as well as my personal life. As I think I mentioned in a previous video, and I know Flesh has mentioned in his video, I am a college student in my senior year, so thus I will very soon be graduating into what I consider a poor economy, and there's a filibuster in Washington right now, leading to some difficulty in passing legislation on either side of the political spectrum. If anyone was curious, I typically gravitate heavily towards a right-wing political perspective, but right now I would describe my political views as bitter. I'm not real satisfied with either party, like most Americans, and I just want a job. I was told coming out of high school, like most everyone in this day and age, that you need to go to college, you need to get a good job, and if you can just get through college, you should do fine. Well, that's not really the case. So the American dream of every generation will do better than a generation before it, it's past. Whether you realize it or not, everyone is raised in the United States under the premise that they're going to be rich and that they're going to do really well. You may not know that or even believe it when I say it, but I assure you, as a social and political studies major with an undergraduate degree, whatever that means to you, whatever you believe or don't believe, academically it is true that everyone in this country is raised to believe they will be successful businessmen. If not a businessman, they will be successful at whatever skill they have. And that everyone has a great chance in America, when that's just not true. There's a lot of social and political boundaries that people have to cross, advantages that people have. So our individual characteristics can overcome or, hold you back past any of those things, but it's important to acknowledge that certain people are far more advantaged than others. The wealthy are advantaged, the people that associate with those that are connected, which is often the wealthy, are advantaged. But more to the point, the dream that I'm going to be rich and successful, at least for me, has passed. I've moved into the stage in my life where I'm just looking to pay my bills and have a roof over my head. I've sort of taken the minimalist. My dreams have gone from being very successful with a high need for achievement to, man, I just hope I can get a roof over my head that isn't my parents' roof and pay the bills. Not to say I don't like living with my parents, actually. I really enjoy the company of my parents. So to that end, I'm looking at graduate schools. And applying for graduate school is a lot different from applying for your undergraduate. When you apply for your undergraduate, believe it or not, the schools were marketing to you. Picking up first-year students was absolutely critical to that college, no matter what college it was. Graduate schools, on the other hand, you're marketing to them. They're not so much needing to collect, a great degree of students that, they don't need to market as much. Because they're marketing less, you have to market to them. There's a lot more of selling yourself to the graduate school as opposed to the graduate school selling itself to you. Unless you're someone that has marvelous achievements following them wherever they go, you're going to have to sell yourself. Both in your careers and in life. To some of you watching this that may be like, well, duh. Well, for me, that was a bit of an eye-opener. I've never been someone who's had a lot of achievement, but I wasn't at the age where graduate school or undergraduate applications where the schools were generally marketing to me. Of course, within my academic range and in my financial range, but they were still trying to get me. Well, now I'm trying to get them, and that's a lot different. It's like taking the interview process, but it's a lot more complicated because I'm not applying for a job at this point. I'm applying for the opportunity to get education to apply for more jobs. It just seems very abstract and strange to me. This gameplay is almost over. I've not touched on a lot of what I wanted to touch on, but suffice it to say, I'm applying to graduate school right now. It sucks. Study for your GRE. Do not take it cold. I took it cold, and now I'm studying just to take it again and spend more money because the test is not designed for you to just take it without studying and do extremely well. I mean, you may do well depending on how academic you are, but it's a lot safer to actually study. But the state of Black Ops as a game right now, I gotta tell you that I had a lot of fun with it on my little 8-hour Call of Duty binge, and like anyone else, I'm just a little burned out with it. But for me, the big problem with the game right now is, I don't know, there's 15 levels of prestige, and I'm really pushing to get these prestiges done, and because every Call of Duty comes out like a year, I feel like, why am I bothering to get these prestiges? I mean, sure, it's fun, I enjoy playing it, but by the time I get to 15th prestige, the shelf life of the game will have almost passed. Because once the next Call of Duty comes out, no matter how much I like Black Ops compared to the next Call of Duty, I'll still be playing the newest one because that's where all the players will be. I gotta go where, the peers that make this game run are. That's the problem with playing a multiplayer game. So it feels almost self-defeating to work to prestige, but I want to prestige, so I'm kind of damned if I do, damned if I don't. If anyone wants to share their thoughts on this in the comments, please do. Final score is, 31-5, I believe. It was a pretty good game, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope my ramblings are at least mildly entertaining, and if anyone's applying for graduate school, I'm just glad you're there, feeling my pain, and you understand what I'm talking about. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and as always, everyone take care and enjoy your holidays.